Hello, everybody, wherever you might be. Here in the Coachella Valley today, the weather has turned wacky once again. On from 80 degrees, cloudy, windy, cold. And this has been a strange year for weather out here in the valley. But I'm grateful I'm alive to be able to see it. So that's the good part about it. At least it's not 120 degrees. But that's coming. That'll be coming. I'm just wondering what that's going to do, what our summer's going to be like this year with our weather patterns being all whacked out. But what it is what it is, and I'm powerless to change it. So I'm just going to enjoy it. Just going to enjoy it. So we're going to continue today. We're going to start in chapter 10. We're starting in chapter 10, Confronting the Perpetrator. And this can be a big one for a lot of people. Chapter 10 is confronting the perpetrator, and there's a lot that can go into this. It's not as easy as yes or no. I wish it was that easy. For me, it was real easy, but for others, it's not. We got to remember that 93% of all sexual abuse is perpetrated by either a family member or their family friends. So there's a lot at stake with confronting your perpetrator. It could be a grandfather, it could be a grandmother, it could be an aunt, an uncle, it could be a stepfather. Remember that. It could be a stepmother, and remember that 80% of all perpetrators are heterosexual males married with their own children. That's a staggering statistic. 80% of perpetrators are heterosexual men married with children of their own. So that puts a lot on the table when it comes to reporting, well, confronting, not reporting. Even though reporting is another one that people don't want to do because of family. We don't want to break the family apart. And the deal is the family is already broken and has been broken for a long time. So the deal is let's get it reported and let's get everybody, including the perpetrators, the help that they need. Now, it is true that some perpetrators are beyond help. I've heard various different interviews from psychologists to, hey, Mike, how are you? From psychologists to the perpetrators themselves who basically say you can never fix us. We'll never be safe. Some of the best psychologists, some of the law enforcement say that a child perpetrator should never be left alone with a child again, never be trusted around a child again. And I'll believe that. As my stepfather not only abused me, he abused two of his grandsons, plus countless other people. So the thing of it is that almost all survivors of any kind of abuse, whether it's mental, physical, sexual, emotional, that question about confronting their perpetrator comes up. Why? We want to know one reason is we want to know why we were singled out. It could have been like in my family, it was my brother and I was the one that was singled out. We want to know that person's sorry for the pain he or she caused. They're and what made him or her do it. So, those are great questions right there, and those need to be answered. But I can tell you what, they're not going to be answered by the perpetrator because the perpetrator um, won't be able to tell you. And wanting to understand all this is the natural response to betrayal. But I can answer some of those for you right now. One reason that a person's singled out, especially in my case, was I was the stronger of the two. And what does that mean? Not physically stronger, but emotionally stronger. I was a happy-go-lucky kid, and a lot of times the ones that they will abuse are a perceived threat to them. Okay, and these are just a few of the reasons. I'm sure there's countless more reasons why people are singled out, but these are basically it. Um, why, when it comes to little children, well, this is where the statement that sexual abuse has nothing to do with sex at all. It all has to do with power. So they're overpowering these little kids because probably, and most likely, very high likelihood that they were overpowered by a perpetrator as a young child themselves, and they never got the help or never talked about it. Okay. And what made him or her do it? We'll go back to if that person is sorry for the pain he or she caused. Well, hurt people hurt people. So they can't be sorry because they're full of pain themselves. And I don't want to say they can't be sorry. I'll take that back. I think they can be sorry. I think they can be remorseful, but those are just words. They can't act sorry or they can't act remorseful. In fact, they can be in denial about it. Okay. So, like I say, it's a natural response for us to know, why me? I mean, I can remember walking to school and looking up in the sky and saying, God, why me out of all the millions of kids in the world? Why am I the one that's being abused like this? Why is it me? Why isn't somebody else? I felt so all alone. We're trying to make sense of everything. We can't figure it out. And what makes it even worse is the desire for the resolution. It can even be at a higher level if the perpetrator was a trusted adult. And mine was my stepfather. He stepped in. He was in my life a year before my father died, and then a month after my father died is when he stepped into the perpetrator role. And you just don't understand it. It's like, well, I needed a father figure. I needed the love of a father, and I thought that's what he was showing me. I didn't know any different. He knew, but I didn't. And he took full advantage of that. And so it was just a lot of questions for me over the years, I was mad at God. God, why did you, first of all, take my father from me when my parents got divorced, although my father was still a big part of my life? Then when he died, I was only 12 years old. God, are you kidding me? I don't want nothing to do with you. This is the kind of God you got. And at that precise point in time, my head went to Charlie Manson just slaughtered a bunch of people. Why didn't you take his life? Why are you taking my father's life that people respect and looked up to? I couldn't make sense of it. So there's a lot of reasons we can question things. And it's being portrayed in that way. You wonder why a lot of men don't trust other men or other people. Period. That betrayal is the deepest kind of betrayal that you can have, and it goes to the fiber of your being. It can be overcome. I've overcome it. Trust is not something that I give easily. It has to be earned. I walk cautiously with people, even people that I have good relationships with. I trust them, and I trust them to the point where if they were to betray me, so to speak, I'd be able to confront them and say, "Hey, what's going on here?" But I haven't had to do that. You know, I've got those kind of relationships with people. The reality is that we don't really need an explanation, because the explanation isn't gonna. Here's an example that I want to throw out there that really frosts my butt. I'm just gonna say it out. I'm gonna say it this way. I agree that being sexually abused is the most horrific thing that can happen. And for people in power, and we take Nassar for instance, and I love the work that Rachel Danholder's doing. Believe me, I love the work that she's doing. You take that, you take the Me Too movement, you take all that, and here's the deal: is they're all angry. And I'm working with a gentleman right now, and I'm helping them through this. They're all extremely angry, hateful even, okay, which I understand. And you read comments online like, they just need to be killed, they need to be castrated, they need to be this, I understand all that, but here's the deal with that. Okay, with all that, that will not heal you. That's not going to heal the inner wounds, the scars that are within you. That's not going to do it. We have to do the deep work. So the explanation is not going to heal you. Just like, for 38 years, I plotted the assassination of my stepfather on a daily basis. The day I forgave him, that all went away. But what would have happened? What would have happened had I done something to my stepfather? What would have happened had I done something to my stepfather? I'd have been in jail. I have a family. I had a business. I still have that emotional prison going on in my head, those emotional turmoil in my head for what happened to me. Then now I'm in prison and I'm going, why did I do this? Because now I'm in prison for assassinating somebody that was just hurt. And my family's outside. Now my kids don't have a father. My wife don't have a husband. They have no income. All right. So we cannot think that way. I understand it and I understand the thought process. But what would happen? Double prison for the abuse. Now I'm in another emotional prison because I destroyed my life and my family. It's not worth it. And my life's ruined. Now it really is ruined because I murdered somebody. And so now, even if I get out, then I'm a convicted felon. And you think about I'd be screwed up before I'd be really screwed up when I got out of prison. So I understand, believe me, I understand wanting the explanation. I understand wanting all that, okay? It's all part of it. And you're going to go through it. And that's why it's really important to have somebody that you can work with that understands all this. And the most important part is this also, is that, look, you're never, I don't want to say never, that's a general term. In most cases, the reality is that the questions aren't going to be answered. You'll never receive an apology for what was done to you. And you'll never even receive validation that they were in fact abused. A lot of people they don't even get the validation that they were in fact abused. People just go, nah, you had to make it up or you deserved it or whatever. Okay? Remember that hurt people, so that if you were abused, it was likely that, actually highly likely, that your abuser was hurting at the least and mentally ill at the worst. When I looked back at my stepfather and his behavior patterns and look up sociopath, he was by defined in the DSM, he was a sociopath. That's it. They're not capable of telling you you're sorry because in many cases they don't think they did anything wrong. So going to them expecting an apology is like expecting sanity from a sick mind is kind of insanity all of its own. So it's hard to get that apology. And what I had to do, and this is the hard, and people, they really struggle with this, and I understand that. I had to come to a place of acceptance without approving that what happened to me happened. It happened. It's over with. I don't approve of it. Remember that acceptance does not mean approval. But if you're not in a place of acceptance, what are you doing? You're fighting. And you're going to get worn out emotionally. You're going to get drugged down mentally, spiritually. You're going to get wiped out. When I finally surrendered all this to God, it happened. I can't change what happened to me 38 years ago. I had to accept the fact that it happened. Was it right? No, absolutely not. So what I learned through my recovery is that I could either dwell on the unfairness or on the somatics of my abuse, or I could relegate it to the past where it belongs. Turning it over and over in my head is not going to fix it. It's only all it did was kept me reliving the past. People tell me all the time, Randy, why do you take people back in their past? I go, I don't take them back in their past. I go back. They're living in their past. So what I do is I go in it with them, and I walk out of it with them. I hold their hand, and we walk out of it together. That's what they need. Nobody ever held their hand as a child to walk them through any issues of their life. Author Byron Katie says this. It's kind of it's catchy. You know what I love about the past? It's over. It's over. The past is over. You can't change it. And I understand how hard this is to grasp and to fully get the concept of. I understand it. It takes time. That's why it takes somebody that can be loving, kind, caring. They can validate you, call you on they're not gonna tell you what you want to hear, but they're gonna tell you the truth with love. Okay? Because all we're doing by holding on to the past and reliving it, we're the ones perpetrating the abuse over and over. I did it for 38 years. That being said, we're the ones. We are solely the ones holding the key to our own prison cell. Nobody else can let us out of this prison cell that we might be living in, or that we did live in, or we are living in. Only we can do that with the help of a good mentor, a good coach, somebody that can walk with you. Remember, as a child, we were trapped. Okay? We were trapped. But here's something I want you to grab a hold of. Is as an adult now, that part of your life is over. If you're still there, it's because you're choosing to stay there. Because there's another choice. And all you got to do is reach out to find somebody to help you walk out of that. I wish I could tell you it was going to happen in a month. I'm 14 years into this, and there's things that still are coming up. There's no easy, quick fix. You can't say I dealt with it and I'm all good now. It just doesn't work that way. You've got, for instance, I had 38 years of behavior instilled in me. Most people I work with have, minimum of 10 and then on up years, that a behavior that instilled in you, that it just automatically, it's like an automatic switch. It just happens. So we got to reverse that, not necessarily reverse that. We got to reprogram your neural pathways and give you a new way of thinking. I know for me, what happens too is we can grow really comfortable in our victimhood. I mean, very comfortable in our victimhood. It's just easier to live there. I mean, I use the example all the time that, we live in this sea of uncomfortableness. This victimhood we live in is it's a comfort zone for us, but everything around us and living in it is it's really uncomfortable. It's sea of diversity. But it's all that we know. We know how to navigate our way through that world. It's easy for us to navigate around, as uncomfortable as it is. That's why many people, when we start this new journey into recovery and we start working on some of this stuff, at first they get this big enlightenment and they feel great. But then when they have to start doing this work, they go, whoa, wait a minute. I didn't sign up for this kind of pain. I can deal with the pain that I left because I know how to navigate my way through it. But this pain, whoa. No, I put this pain away a long time ago. And therein lies the problem. We're going to have to walk through the pain and shame one more time in order to truly heal. Because we've been stuffing it for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. We've been going around it and over it. It's time to go through it. And I want you to understand something about me. I'm talking here. I'm not in front of you. I'm not sitting one-on-one with you. If you were, you would be able to really understand the compassion and deep empathy I have for you. I understand how difficult it can be. I don't tell people what they got to do. I walk with them. I give them suggestions. My hope is that they get what I got. We have to want. A lot of people say, well, I need to be free. I need to be happy. And, I need help. Okay. But do you want your freedom? Do you want to be happy? Or are you afraid to lose that shelter of your victim story? Because being free and being happy requires work. It requires work. That 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 victimhood, it's just a ramshackle hut, man. It provides no protection whatsoever. And for many of us, and for me, for many years, that's all I felt I had was that little ramshackle hut, that victimhood story. I didn't want to let go of it until it came time to, I need help. Until, and as long as we cling to that victimhood, what we're doing is we're placing our healing power in the hands of the perpetrator. And forgiveness is a key to this. And I know I'm writing an article right now on forgive and move on. The common phrase is forgive, forget, and move on. I'm writing an article on that, where forgive is going to be learn and move on, and move on is going to be give back, because we can't use those words anymore. Forgive, forget, and move on. Forgive and move on, yeah, but that's a process. Whether we know our abuser or not, whether it was a stranger or somebody, the reality is that everyone that I've talked to has obsessed over confronting them. The one I'm working with right now, he says if I see him, I'll go across the table and kill him. And I'm working with him on that. I understand, right? I mean, like I say, I fantasized for 38 years about assassinating Jack, but God did for me what I couldn't do for myself. So if you are thinking about confronting your abuser, first of all, you're going to have to safeguard your heart and mind. And if you have some recovery in place, which you should before you even think about this, you need to be grounded in your own recovery journey, your own healing journey, not necessarily recovery, but healing journey. You have to be grounded in it. You have to have that foundation. And I'll go as far as saying you have to have God at the center of it. Not the false gods that AA throws out there all the time, but God Yahweh, God the Creator. He's got to be in the center of your life. If not, it's going to be extremely hard. I wanted to tell you to think twice before you're gonna even think about confronting a perpetrator. Personally, I don't think it's the smartest thing to do. And personally, I tell most people no. And I sit down and have a conversation with them about why they want to do it, which we'll talk about next week. Remember that sexual abusers, perpetrators, are not usually the sanest or healthiest people in the world. So that's likely you're going to get the response, not get the response you want from a person who is mentally ill. I'm going to read right out of the book right now. It's also interesting to know that in general, once a survivor has enough recovery to handle a confrontation without reopening old wounds, I'm telling you, that is the key to it. That confrontation often becomes less important. Okay? Because what happens if you go to that perpetrator and you talk to him about it? And here you are, you're fresh, you're feeling good. I got people behind me. And you say something to me, because I don't know what you're talking about. You're lying. Why do you got to keep saying lies about that to me? I never did nothing like that to you. It's not going to be a good outcome. So here's some suggestions if you plan on doing that. If you're working with a therapist, it is absolutely essential that you develop a plan to have a support system in place before you move forward. It's absolutely essential that your therapist, your coach, and your mentor, all of them should be well schooled in trauma and trauma healing. Okay. They need to be 100% involved and informed. And if you're not working with any of these, you need to find one before you contact your abuser. Because likely, if you're not working with a mentor or a coach or a therapist that are well schooled, you're not ready to go to confront a perpetrator. Okay. Second, I would suggest, do not confront your abuser alone. Make sure you take somebody with you. Okay. You're going to need support. And more importantly, if at all possible, do it in the presence of your therapist or a professional third party who can help you if the situation escalates and starts to cause pain. When I confronted my mother, it was with my first therapist. And then, years down the line, just probably 2009, 2010, she wanted to try to reconcile. It went through my therapist through various stages. And it finally came down to we weren't going to do it because she was blaming me. Still, all this time later, she's blamed me for all the abuse that had happened. So, like you say, and my mom was very much a perpetrator of abuse as well. In the brightest of scenarios, right? In the brightest of scenarios, a confrontation can be cleansing, and a healing event. In the brightest, okay? Which I can't guarantee it's going to be bright. But if they go wrong, you're going to jump. It's very possible that you're going to jump right back down the rabbit hole you worked so hard to climb out of. And that's what my mother did to me with some scathing letters she wrote to me in 2010, 4 years into my sobriety. And thank God I had my therapist, to work through it with. Because I went back down that rabbit hole for about 3 months, and I could not climb out of it. She put so much shame on me. It was unbearable. Since this is your healing, and believe me, just make sure if you absolutely 100% insist on confronting your perpetrator, you have to. I'm going to tell you, there's no exception. You have to have a therapist, a mentor, or a coach with you on standby, because if it goes south, and it went south on me, it took me 3 months, you're going to need that person to help you. Because the shame overwhelmed me to the point where I wanted to drink again. But thank God I didn't, but I couldn't deal with it. If it wasn't for my therapist and my wife, my sponsors, who knows what would have happened. And the obsession to drink and leave and use left me when I got sober in 2006. But the shame that was cast upon me was like, whew. So you have to safeguard your recovery. It's imperative that you take all the measures to safeguard your recovery in case things do not go well. Okay? So this is just the first part on confronting your perpetrator. Next week I'll talk about examining your motives. That's a really big deal in this. So we'll go into that a little bit. Be next Monday at 11 o'clock, same time, same channel. Check out my life coaching page, changeyourlifestorynow.com. We do marriage, my wife and I. I'm Symbis facilitator certified. All I can say, it is a great thing for people that are getting married, or even people that have been married. It's really helping them to see things and ask things about each other that you would never think of. They'll come up in your marriage down the line, but here you're already thinking about them before you get married. And with the married couples, it's really showing them another avenue. So it's questionnaires both on on both spouses. Take them separately away from each other. You can't see what are you answering here. It's like 99.9% accurate. So if you're interested in that, just go to the contact page and let me know, and I'll tell you what all that entails. Okay. I also do the addictions, of course, abuse, inner healing, and spiritual work as well. So what are you waiting for? It's your life. Everybody out there's got hurts, habits, and hangups that they need to have fixed. But the reality is that most of those people think they got it all together. And like that sign said over here on the 10 freeway going out of the valley one time, more men will die from stubbornness this year than anything else. And that's pretty much true. Remember, you can get my book, Healing the Wounded Child Within, on Amazon. It's on paperback. It's on Kindle. It's on audiobook. Be sure to visit. And on that, I'm writing another devotional right now. Probably more closer towards the end of the year. But that's up and coming. And then, sorry, I was posting something for y'all. And then go to our website, visit courageoushealers.org, courageoushealers.org website, see what's going on there. We can't go forward without your help. This is a foundation that definitely needs to be out there. I'm actually getting some stuff out of Texas coming my way. I'm getting more stuff out of state than I am in state, which is sad. I mean, it's bad right here in the valley, but I get more support from people out of the valley than I am here in the valley. So I'm just saying that out loud. But you can make a one-time donation, or you can become a monthly contributor. Just visit the website and just click on the donate tab button. It's really easy to do. We're a 501c3 corporation, so you can all your contributions are tax deductible. And if you do a $60 donation or more, I'll send you a signed copy of my book, Healing the Wounded Child Within, a copy of my 30-day devotional to wholeness. It doesn't have to be anything big, I mean, that would be nice, but even if you could give $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever it is, we appreciate. But we are trying to develop some programs, workshops, so on and so forth, and we can't do it without the funds. So we'd appreciate anything anybody can contribute. We have our upcoming workshop series, Unmasking Yourself. There's 4 different workshops. The first one is here on March 14th. It's the personal communication workshop. And then on June 13th, we have Journey to You. And then Secrets and Silence is on September 12th. And then right before Christmas on December 5th is Forgiveness. These are all really good workshops. The communication workshop can help you in your relationship with your spouse, with your children, with your employer, employees, just in general. I mean, the deal is how many people were really taught how to communicate in a way that was kind and listening and helpful. And everybody I've talked to, they said, nobody taught us. So, and it's really not that difficult. Again, like anything with change, it's just a matter of making the changes. That's the most difficult part. But as you start making the changes of communication, you'll see the difference that it makes. Okay, but again, it's not an easy change. It takes time. Okay, the Journey to You, we're going to really get into some deep stuff on that. We'll go back to why you are the way you are, how it started. We'll get into some generational curses, so on and so forth. Secrets and Silence. We're all carrying around those secrets, and that keeps us silent. And secrets are not good for us. The Bible says, "What's in the dark will be brought to the light." And I found out that the hard way. And my prayers for other people that they can bring what's in the dark to the light themselves, so it's not brought up at a very inopportune time in one's life, which can cause a lot of chaos and hectic and chaos and I was going to say, my brain just went there. A lot of chaos. We'll leave it at that. And then the Forgiveness is right before Christmas, and that is an eye-opening journey through forgiveness. What forgiveness is, what it isn't. Too many people think that, well, if I forgave that person for what he did, that means what he did was right, and I got to let him back in my life. Nothing could be farther from the truth. So, and then on that one, we do have a really good worksheet we're going to have everybody do. It goes kind of deep. So I'll look forward to seeing you hopefully on March 12th. You can go to the courageoushealers.org website. I put the link right here at the bottom of this post, and then click on what, if you don't click here, you go to courageoushealers.org, click on the workshop tab, and then right at the top you can register right there. It's too late for the early bird. We're into the I think it's $45 for a single, $70 for a couple. What I will do is that if you want to come with a friend, doesn't necessarily have to be your spouse or your partner. If you want to come with a friend, you guys register at the same time, then I'll let you register as a couple. So it gives you a $20 discount if you come with a friend that way. Okay? So I look forward to seeing y'all hopefully on the 20th. And remember, if nobody tells you they love you today, Randy does, but more importantly, God does. Everybody have a super blessed week. I'll see you next week. Thanks. Goodbye.